I mean, what is kind of step one for someone who isn't technically oriented, has never written a line of code in their life, to better have an idea of like, yeah, answering so what? I have this idea, or I have this thing that I want to solve for, this API I want, these things I want to get connected, this optimization I want to do. How do you get to the heart of and asking the questions, what's the value of this thing if we do or don't do it?
That's a really good question. And I think, of course, it will be a little bit different depending on, what size is your company and how expensive is it expensive? Because for some people, wasting 15 minutes a day is not a big deal. And spending $25,000 to fix a 15-minute a day problem is just, that math just doesn't make sense. But then I think there are other people who that 15 minutes a day is worth $25,000. And because they look at that 15 minutes a day across 10 months, 10 years, and they say, well, if I can recoup that 15 minutes a day, then that clearly is worth it. If you amortize that cost across 10 years or whatever. And I think 10 years I think that's a respectable goal as far as kind of thinking as far as timelines go. Software, if you're not doing something very trivial, I think most of the problems that you and I are interested in fixing that we typically handle for our customers, these are not, I have this 5-minute problem, I need a 30-minute script to fix it. There's a lot of people that can do that. We can do that. I think we like to operate at a higher, more tightly integrated level. And so when you're doing that, it really becomes a question of how painful is the pain, right? We talk to business owners all the time that they say, hey, we want software that does X. And when we really boil it down to its essence, X is just, we want to make an extra $1,000 a month, or it would just be nice to save 15 minutes a day, something like that.
Nice to have. Absolutely.
It's a nice to have. Exactly. And when you start charging what, high level, tightly integrated business solutions cost, it quickly puts that into perspective, right? Where it's like, oh, this is a nice to have. This doesn't hurt. This is not a $30,000 paycheck pain. This is a $5,000 pain, right? So I think that's the first thing is to think about, like, what is this actually costing me as far as time, as far as revenue,
It can be boiled down, really any problem, into two buckets. It's time or money, right? Yep. And so when someone's coming to us and they say we want to do this or that thing and they can't articulate the value, usually we know this person either doesn't experience the pain enough or they're not a decision maker. Because I can tell you what, like, if I'm a business owner and I run a 7-figure business, I should damn well have a good idea of what I'm trying to do and how much it's going to make me or cost me if I don't do it. Yeah. And so I think that here's a framework I use in sales. It's 3 levels discovery. And I think you can actually ask those questions yourself if you're like a business owner trying to make software decisions on, is this thing worth it to build or to optimize or to look for something new? It's really like 3 levels deep. Like let's to bring up the problem, whatever it is. Let's say, we have a really old crusty system that we don't like using, that we've been using for the past 20 years. And sometimes it breaks. It's like, okay, well, let's talk about the situation. What happens when, and insert the problem. So what happens when the software breaks and it's crusty and it doesn't work exactly how you like? Well, it causes some issues, some downtime. Okay, well, when you have downtime, how does it affect you? So we understand the situation, the kind of chaos around it. We understand how it affects you. Well, it affects me because, I might not be able to process orders, and then we're kind of getting backlogged. Okay, well, when you're getting backlogged, how much is that costing the business? So we understand in 3 questions, just kind of digging deep and asking the same question back to ourselves in those 3 different scenarios, we got to understand how the problem that we're talking about affects the chaos, like the chaos it's insinuating beyond just kind of the surface level. We're understanding how it's affecting you. And then we understand also how presumably it's affecting the business. And if you're doing this really well, at the end of it, you really should be able to quantify it in either some kind of time or monetary value. That's something that I do in sales to help people articulate this themselves, because sometimes they haven't done it themselves.
Yeah.
But it's even better if you could do this for yourself, do this exercise for yourself. And then it becomes much easier that once you get into the conversations, and you might have software agencies or contractors who are saying this is going to cost $20,000. Actually, it's going to cost $250,000. The range can be huge, but if you can at least know, hey, this is a $30,000 a year problem, then you can really begin to understand and having more control over what's reasonable and what's not.